Okay, today we are going to go over our 1.5 functions 2 assignment and basically get ready for Christmas break. So, number 5a. This one was f of g of 0. So when it's f of g of 0, that means you plug a 0 into the g function first. So then it's 0 squared minus 3. That gives me negative 3. Then whatever I get out of there, which was negative 3, I plug into the f function. So it's negative 3 plus 5, and that gives me 2. Part B, it's g of f of 0, so I plug a 0 into the f function. 0 plus 5 gives me 5. Whatever I get out of there, I plug into the g function. 5 squared is 25, minus 3 is 22. All right, part C is where it gets a little more difficult. I now have f of g of x, which means I take the g function. Everywhere I see an x in the f function, I plug that in. So f of g of x is equal to, and then it's x squared minus 3 plus 5. Where this used to be an x, I'm taking that g function and plugging it in. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2, so it's x squared plus 2. Part D, g of f of x. For that one, I'm going to plug my f function in everywhere I see an x in the g function. So it's going to give me x plus 5 squared minus 3. Now I actually have to square that x plus 5. It gives me x squared plus 10x plus 25 minus 3. And then combine my like terms, x squared plus 10x plus 22. All right, part E, f of negative 5. So first I plug my negative 5 into the f function. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. Now I plug that back into the f function. 0 plus 5 is 5. G of 2. I plug the 2 into the g function. That gives me 2 squared, which is 4, minus 3 is 1. Take that 1 and plug it back into the g function. 1 squared is 1, minus 3 is negative 2. Part G, f of x, means that I take f of x and plug it into the function f of x. So that's going to give me x plus 5 plus 5. Basically just replace this x with an x plus 5 already. So that's x plus 5 plus 5, or x plus 10. In part H, this is g of x. So when I do that one now, I get x squared minus 3 plugged in for x. So now I have to square the x squared minus 3. It gives me x to the 4th minus 6x squared plus 9 minus 3. So it's x to the 4th minus 6x squared plus 6. So that's it for 5. Number 6. F of g of 1/2 means I plug 1/2 in here. So 1/2 plus 1, that gives me 1.5. It's 1 over 1.5, which is 0.75. Sounds right. Yeah, exactly like I said, 2/3. So 2/3 would be my answer there. Then I take the 2/3 and I plug it in here. And 2/3 minus 1 is negative 1/3. G of f of 1/2 means I plug the 1/2 in here. 1/2 minus 1 gives me negative 1/2. Plug negative 1/2 in here. It's negative 1/2 plus 1, which is a positive 1/2. 1 divided by 1/2 gives me 2. Next, I have f of g of x. So that means I'm going to plug the g of x function in everywhere I see an x. So 1 over x plus 1 minus 1. I have to get an x plus 1 on the bottom here in order to actually solve this, which means I have to multiply both the top and the bottom. It's 1 over 1 by x plus 1. So it gives me 1 minus, and then it's x plus 1. That's over x plus 1. I don't know why I wrote 5. I had to get a common denominator for those, that's all. Distribute my negative, and I get negative x over x plus 1. Part D, g of f of x. Means I'm plugging f of x in everywhere I see an x. So this is going to be 1 over, and then here's the f function. So then x minus 1 plus 1 leaves me with just x in the denominator. All right, next is f of 2. So that means I plug a 2 in for x minus 1. That's 2 minus 1, which is 1. Plug the 1 in now. 1 minus 1 is 0. Part F, g of 2. Plug a 2 in. That gives me 2 plus 1. So that's 3. So it's 1/3. Now I plug a 1/3 in down here. And this becomes 1 over 4/3, which is 3/4. Next one is f of x. Means that everywhere I see an x up here, I plug this function into it. So it's going to give me x minus 1 minus 1, which is x minus 2. Then it's g of x. This one's going to be a little more difficult, because once I see this x here, I have to plug 1 over x plus 1 in. So it's 1 over x plus 1 plus 1. I get a common denominator. Which should be x plus 1. So really that's just going to be plus x plus 1 over x plus 1. 1 plus x plus 1 gives me x plus 2. So it's 1 over x plus 2 over x plus 1. We're going to flip that. It gives us x plus 1 over x plus 2. So that's 5 and 6. Number 7. Oh, who gave us so many problems? U of v of f of x. Oh, these are even more fun. So now I have to plug f of x in to v first. So plugging 1 over x into this gives me 1 over x squared. And then I plug that in here. So it's going to be 4 times 1 over x squared minus 5. So this would be 4 over x squared minus 5. Part B, u of f of v of x means that I'm going to take this v of x and plug it in here. So it's going to be x squared goes in to the f, so it's still going to be 1 over x squared, and then plug that into the u. So it's going to be 4 times 1 over x squared minus 5, which gives you the same exact answer as part A, 4 over x squared minus 5. Part C, v of u of f of x, means that I plug the f of x into u first. So that's going to be 4 over x minus 5. And that still has to go into v, which means that this is going to be 4 over x minus 5 squared. Part D, v of f of u of x. So that means I'm going to plug the u of x into f first, which means it's going to be 1 over 4x minus 5. And then it's still v of that, which means it's going to be 1 over 4x minus 5 squared. You can simplify that fairly easily. 1, and then this would be 16x squared minus 40x plus 25. Part E, f of u of v of x, means I'm going to plug v of x into the u first. So that's going to give me 4x squared minus 5. Then the f function means it's going to be 1 over that. Part F, f of v of u of x, means I plug the u of x into the v first. So that's going to be 4x minus 5 squared, which is 16x squared minus 40x plus 25. And then I plug that in to the 4. So that gives me 64x squared minus 160x plus 200 minus 5. So that last part just changes to 195. Number 13, It says express each of the functions of in exercises 9 and 10 as a composite involving one or more of f, g, h, and j. So the first thing I do is if I look at number 9a, it's the square root of x minus 3. You'll notice that the minus 3 is outside the parentheses, or outside of the root, sorry, not the parentheses. So since that's outside of the root, it tells me that this one went into there. So this would be f of g of x. Part B, it's 2 times the square root of x. This is 2x. The square root of x went into that, so that would be j of g of x. Part C, this one looks a little more difficult because it's x to the 1/4, and I don't see that up here. But remember that the square root is also x to the 1/2, which means that this one was just g of x. If I put x to the 1/2 to the 1/2, that gives me x to the 1/4. Part D, same thing, except with j. This would be j of x. I just did 2 times 2x. Part E, I put x minus 3 into the cube, so that would give me h of f of x. And then I took the square root of it, so that would be g of h of f of x. Then part F, it's 2x minus 6, which I don't see up there at all. And that's because we did x minus 3 into 2x first. So that would be j of f of x. And then raised to the third power, which would give me h of j of f of x. Number 13, write a formula for Fogg and Goff and find the domain and range of each. So first for Fogg, that's just f of g of x, which means I'll just put 1 over x into my square root. Find the domain of this. I can't take the square root of a negative, right? So I can't have anything that would be less than -1 here. And I also can't have a 0 in the denominator. Actually, I could have a number less than -1. If this was -2, that would give me -1/2 plus 1, which would be a positive. So I would need, my domain would be from -infinity to -1 inclusive. But then any number between -1 and 0 would not work because I can't have a 0 in the denominator. And if I did like -0.5, that would give me -2 plus 1, which would give me a negative under the root. So then it's going to have to pick up at 0, but not including 0, and then go to infinity. So that's my domain. My range would be if I put the smallest value in here, say -1,000, then that would give me basically close to 0 for this. And then plus 1, square root of 1 would be 1. So if I go with the smallest number, it would give me 1. And then also as it gets bigger, like 1 over, so my smallest value would be 1. But if I put a high number of x in here, like 1 over 1,000, that's also going to give me 1. But you have to think about the numbers that are close to 0, like 1 over 0.01. Well, that would give me 100 plus 1, and then the square root of that. So my range is still going to be from 1 to infinity. And then number 7, match the equations listed in parts A through D to the graph of the accompanying figure. If you remember, x squared is a parabola centered at 0, 0. So if I'm looking at x minus 2 squared plus 2, that would be going to the right 2 and up 2. So position 1 is B. If I look at position 2, that goes left 2 and up 2. So it would be x plus 2 squared plus 2. So that would be C. If I'm looking at position 3, that's a left 3, which would be x plus 3 squared minus 2. So that's D. And then obviously position 4 has to be A. All right, well, that's the end of that homework assignment. Hope you guys have a good break, and we will pick up starting back up with the trig functions when we come back from break.